I'm sure enough we could able to find something a little bit more treasury inside of this little waterfall. Oh, really? It's been blocked? Oh, I get it, because it's three forms of that particular hub world as far as this has been the case. Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I am Duffy Duck here once again, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Muxy Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Pac-Man World for the PlayStation/PS1. So yes, last time we did manage to able to conclude the actual 2 levels in the Ruins world, and today for this episode is the fact that we're about to be finishing up with the Ruins world by going through probably the most difficult boss fight in the whole entire game. Specifically in World 2, which I don't know why they managed to include the hardest boss fights from the very beginning. So here we go with the forms of Anubis Rex. So, because basically in this particular boss fight does have two different segments. Like for instance, the first segment we need to get out of here by the forms of that specific chase sequence, and that the fact of the matter is though is the fact that we need to avoid a lot of traps in this place because, well, as you can see, that we need to able to actually get away from this mummy's hand, and because of how the fact that, as you can see, that we're getting hit multiple times, and as a result though, there's gonna be a lot of like booby traps everywhere. So even then though, to make matters even much more difficult than the forms of how it does it on the first boss in the game, that sometimes the hitbox with Pac-Man is pretty damn big. Even when you get to the point when you're trying to able to actually avoid those little booby traps. Now as a result of this kinds of stuff though, you will die a lot of times. Now it's not to say that this beginning portion wasn't all that hard, to be honest with you, but later on though, it gets ridiculous, because either way though, we'll get to that whenever we're able to actually bypass this part. So even then though, because sometimes I swear to God, whenever I was trying to avoid these little booby traps like these spears, and by the way, the actual boss fight's name is usually calls it Anubis Rex, by the way. So even then I was want to point things out, and there's my another death right there because of my death perception right there. And plus I think I should probably restore my health in case if there are some questionable difficult parts here and there. So this is what the hard part comes into play, is the fact that as you can see that we need to use these little referral platforms once again, because even then though, in order to actually deal the damage on the Anubis Rex, is that you need to activate all 4 of those little switches, and every time you hear a click, this means about the fact that you're basically pretty much done with that section. So, and by the way, Anubis Rex only has like 4 units of health, meaning that his weak spot is actually its heart. And then if every time you destroy one, it moves on to pretty much a difficult phase. But either way though, because of how the fact that you would die a lot of times in this boss fight, most notably because, well, there's gonna be a lot of trial and error on this particular boss fight, especially because, like, there's so much stuff on screen. Like, for instance, for example, there's a lot of fireballs coming out of the lava, as well as to top it all off, we have these really annoying homing tornadoes, if you remember from the forms of the previous stages. Well, you now need to deal with them here. And then when you get to phase 3, and especially don't get me started on phase number 4 potentially, and now the fact that you will die a lot of times on that particular boss fight just because, well, you have to deal with a lot of trial and error, because either way though, take phase 3 for example, is the fact that, you know, with the actual, you know, if the fireballs keeps on shooting at you from the, from above, well, in this case in the actual lava itself, well, they're now gonna be appeared out of nowhere. I think this is most notably because of the fire or the volcano is erupting. So even then though, we need to do a lot of careful, timing jumps and what have you, so that way you can be perfectly safe from that part. But either way though, it's just pretty much difficult as it is. So even then though, now we're on to phase number 4, where it gets a little bit more annoying, because now they actually spawn in these very annoying homing sparkly things, which again, sometimes you can able to actually avoid those kinds of stuff like this, whilst other times though, the actual hitbox is ridiculously big, especially when these little shiny sparkly stuff actually have themselves like a wow, kind of annoying stuff, assuming say. So either way though, we'll mention more on that specific details whenever we get to that point. So, anywho though, you know when I said this before, and especially noticeable when Sonic has mentioned about this quite a few times since the Kingdom Hearts Final Mix Let's Play, the fact of the matter is though, is that one thing we forgot to say, that originally we were supposed to able to actually upload these kinds of videos and during at some point on Monday, But it turns out that today is the forms of the 7th of September. This means we can able to actually get back onto uploading recording sessions once again throughout for any single days at some form or another, because turns out though that whenever I managed to able to actually accidentally say from the likes of the Green Star runs on in Super Mario Galaxy 2 and World 2. Now, I said this before about the fact that originally that Sonic and the others managed to pack their stuff for that camping holiday trip, but it turns out it was cancelled just because I get the strong feeling about the fact that this is where the temperature at the moment right now starts to get a little bit colder than new forms of how it does it on during the summer season, so I just want to point things out right away, but even then I don't mind about it too much because, well, I might be okay with camping holidays and all that such, but I'm just not exactly ready for that specifically yet. But either way though, we'll, concentrate on this particular boss fight. So either way though, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of stuff on this boss fight has to offer though. But when you deal with all 4 of those hits, specifically for those, 4 weak spots, if you couldn't tell, this means the Anubis Rex has been completely destroyed. So even then, no, take that. And by the way, because if you couldn't tell already, this is my second attempt of this recording session, because for the love of God, that guy just kicked my butt every time whenever I was trying to actually just to avoid a lot of his attacks. Now as a result though, it will drain your lives very very quickly if you're not paying attention to the actual attacks all by itself. But even then though, that's as far as I can say about it. I think that takes care of the forms of the Ruins world right about now, so I think we should now move on to the 3rd world in this game, which appears to be Space World. Or in this case, not to be confused as Spaceland from the likes of, in Mario Party 2. Well, except the fact that, it's a platformer game, not a party game, mind you, so even then, though, we'll get this thing to it. So here we go with the first level in, Space World, which appears to be Space Race. Although there's nothing we can do with the actual racing mechanics all by itself, up until when it gets to the point it's all the later worlds of the game. And I think this might actually be the last world on the first half of the game, because, after we're done with the first half of the game, then we can able to move on to the second half, which appears to be by the forms of, I'm not going to explain things too much specifically on that, until whenever we're able to actually make our way to that specific point. Oh, these little aliens right there. Sometimes I always have a hard time trying to destroy them, because most of the time my butt balancing draw distance right there, sometimes it feels a little bit too much of a cryptic for my liking, but either way though, we'll leave it up to that though. So even then though, we'll go ahead and activate some couple of switches up ahead. Specifically, there are some hidden collectibles, most notably with those specific fruits, as well as from that though, the actual bit of health. So anywho though, one thing I forgot to mention about this, ever since during the likes of a couple of days ago, it has been quite a few months actually since I've managed to coming back into this game, because, first of all, originally we were supposed to actually do this alongside with the forms of Klonoa Daughter Phantomile for the double PlayStation Let's Play marathons and all that such, but unfortunately I forgot to do that though, because I was usually got distracted by the forms of, to be more specifically for Yoshi's Woolly World, as well as, most recently Super Mario Galaxy 2. So even then though, because I'm currently doing those 2, or actually 3 Let's Plays of these from now on. Now Mario's still practically doing Super Mario Odyssey, which he'll able to actually come back into that at some point in October. And especially noticeable, Sonic needs to get back onto Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, despite the fact that he actually, did got into that point during yesterday. So even then though, hopefully we're able to actually get those Let's Plays done before, 2020 is about to be slowly approaching, which I think we've already got about, I would say by the forms of about 4 months left until, 2020 will be approaching. So even then though, I can't wait to see how this will turn out, especially noticeable how the fact that hopefully we can able to do something completely different when it comes to uploading schedules alike. So either way though, let's just go ahead and, use the referral right here, so even then we can able to actually just make our way for this point here. And of course, we can never forget that shortcut, so yeah, everything else will be turned out all in all, so even then though, yeah. A few things I want to explain about this actually is the fact that I managed to able to actually just realize that I've managed to recently play through Super Smash Bros. Ultimate recently on my own time, and it seems more accurately though, I'm pretty much almost done with the forms of, well, to be more specifically, the actual challenges list, which if I manage to able to accomplish that, then I can able to actually just to utilize the, well, to be more specifically, it's able to actually focusing on the spirits next. And then as a result of this kinds of stuff though, that's well, I usually occasionally use the hammers most of the time for harder challenges like this, especially noticeable on the spirits board category where you have to do with all these master classes in order to actually do that for 10 times. Which honestly I really can't think I can do that though, because most of the time most of the other spirit battles can sometimes really kick my butt most of the time. I usually use the correct you know, the correct spirits to use from, but sometimes I just didn't feel that skillful enough when it comes to dealing with most other battles throughout. So I managed able to use the golden hammer instead. So even then though, aside from those side of things, I've recently managed to able to accomplish the classic mode in intensity 9.9 as Ganondorf, which, to be honest with you, I think Ganondorf might be the best incarnation of him compared to the forms of how it does it on Smash for Wii U and the ones on the 3DS. Now, don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed those games, don't get me wrong. It's just that, well, the 3DS version might tend to break the controls a little bit, and the Wii U version might suffer from the most difficult challenge modes or the challenge lists in the whole entire game, because I cannot even believe they managed to make those challenges ridiculously harder compared to the forms of how it does it on Smash Ultimate, and even especially noticeable in Smash Bros. Brawl. Well, some exceptions, mind you, when it comes to boss battles in Smash Bros. Brawl and in some form or another, mind you. But even then, apart from the occasional of those, like, you know, in Smash Bros. Brawl, especially noticeable on the 3DS and for the Wii U, they managed to, well, despite the fact that in Smash 3DS, you can able to actually get up to, like, 15 hammers a piece, but specifically on the Wii U, and especially noticeable in Smash Bros. Brawl, they managed to only offer you for about, like, let's just say 5 golden hammers. And, well, despite the fact that in Smash Bros. Super Smash Bros. Brawl, you can able to actually just manage to destroy any of those tiles until you're able to actually get these challenges done and over with. But somehow on the Wii U version, they just managed to able to actually close off some of those challenges that you have to require to complete. Well, to be more specifically on Scratch. But either way though, like for instance, for example, if I managed to able to completely done with the final boss on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which I'm not going to spoil at this point just yet though, for those who have not played the game just yet, despite the fact that that game was almost about a year old until at some point in the 7th of December. So either way though, that's besides the point. Speaking of which, actually, is the fact that whenever I managed to able to actually, like, you know I said this before about the fact that they're making another version of Xenoblade Chronicles on, specifically on a Nintendo Switch right now. You know, kind of like how it did on the Hyrule Warriors game, basically, for the forms of all 3 systems all in one. But, whenever I said this before about the fact that I really don't care about the games coming back, you know, as such, because of the fact that I'm not exactly sure if I was expecting. But it turns out, assuming I just realized, I might as well able to actually start apologizing for that game, because, well, I usually quite enjoy with the actual, the new 3DS version of the game, despite I no longer have that anymore, just because, well, I'm pretty sure the 3DS is basically dead at this point for the actual lifespan or something like that, and they just move on to the you know, the Nintendo Switch. But I will say, the graphics do look very, very gorgeous, especially noticeable how the fact that I think it might actually improve upon it than the forms of how it does it on the new 3DS version for somewhat blurry textures, as well as, well, some blurry textures on the human models and all as such. I'm actually really looking forward to able to actually re-picking up the forms of Xenoblade Chronicles, the original game again, but this time around though with much better visuals than the forms of how it does in the original Wii version's counterpart, as well as the forms of the new 3DS counterparts here now too. Now as a result of this kinds of stuff though, is the fact that since I can able to play on the go, just like the new 3DS hardware as far as I'm aware, this means I don't have to worry about that very teeny tiny C-stick knob on the new 3DS models, because I swear to god, I was going to rotate the camera whenever I managed to play through Xenoblade Chronicles on the 3DS. I seem to able to can't even like maneuver the camera properly, which as a result sometimes I just seriously cannot even like continue things on because of that specific stuff. But thankfully though, on the definitive edition on Xenoblade Chronicles on the Switch, hopefully I should able to actually maneuver the camera properly, as well as able to actually like well, I can able to actually just I think I'm actually gonna get the game now, especially noticeable while, despite the fact that that particular version of the game will able to actually come out during in 2020, which I'm actually really looking forward to that game though, despite I'm not a huge JRPG fans out there. Well, some exceptions, which is specifically I'm a die-hard fan when it comes to Paper Mario, as well as Mario Luigi series, and even the Kingdom Hearts series, because, well, you know, we'll mention about the forms of the Kingdom Hearts stuff as soon as we're able to actually mention about this kinds of stuff. Well, excuse me, I just got a bit of a dry throat. I think that's the only reason why I'm just talking a little bit sluggish for this point today. But I'm hoping enjoying the forms of tomorrow, which, by the way, at some form or another, especially noticeable next week, I think I should probably start mainly focusing on, you know, Yoshi's Woolly World as well as this game, because I think I slowly started able to actually progressing when it comes to the forms of those two games Let's Plays for the time, before we're able to move on to, specifically for next year, for Pac-Man World 2, as well as Yoshi's Crafted World, essentially. So even then, because as a result of this kinds of stuff, maybe I should probably concentrate on those games from now on. Now, as for Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, though, that Sonic needs to get back into at this point, I think he mainly might actually focus on those, specifically on weekends, because, well, from now on anyway, though, because until when it gets to the point until, I won't say in the 20th of September, that we might actually get something out of it, though, which, either way, though, because, you know, we've already got about 13 more days to go until the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake will be on its way on the Nintendo Switch, which, that probably explains how the fact that that particular hint might actually give you something a little bit more in common. And, well, we're not going to mention about this too much about it because, well, we haven't got to the very end of that specific month just yet. So even then, though, we'll, mention more now whenever we get to that, though. So even wait, though, few things I want to explain about this, actually, is the fact that one thing I forgot to say is the fact that whenever I managed to deal with the Green Star hunting on Super Mario Galaxy 2, that one thing I totally forgot to mention about that specific video, that recently that Nintendo Switch Online membership service now finally got the Super Nintendo titles, and I was like, wow, I'm actually quite impressed about that, because either way, though, despite the, you know, Nintendo Switch Online membership service has been up for about almost a year ago at this point, since the 13th of September. But even then, I might be very curious to see what's up next, and I was very curious to see how the fact that the Super Nintendo titles are now finally coming onto the Nintendo Switch Online stuff. So even then, though, at the moment right now, they actually got about quite a few games on it, though, specifically, you know, Super Mario World, and as well as, Kirby's Dream Land 3. And as well as from that, though, they also got, I would say by the forms of, Super Mario Kart, which, that's pretty cool, though, because either way, though, you can now actually play Super Mario Kart, the old game of all things, online. So even then, though, I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. And aside from that, though, another thing that I was want to point things out right away is the fact that I've noticed there are some rumors out there about the fact that they might actually get ourselves the revision with those Joy-Cons. Well, I'm not exactly sure about this just yet, though. And speaking of these Joy-Cons, actually, is the fact that, and by the way, the next level we're going to be hitting into is Far Out. In this case, not to be confused as Far Out from the likes of, one of these Namco references or something like that whenever they call out Far Out. And especially noticeable with that particular arcade game called Space Ace, where I think it's been such a long while since I actually managed to play that game, since during the likes of in the final ever day on 2018, because of how the fact that we finished up with the Dragon Slayer Trilogy arcade game, specifically on that particular year throughout. So either way, though, I've noticed there was actually that weird accessory that's just recently announced, and I was very curious about the fact that what that accessory can do. And in fact, the matter is, though, it could be a possibilities of that particular Wii Fit kind of game like that. But even then, we'll find out more details onto that whenever it gets to the point until the 12th of September. So even then, though, oh yeah, which reminds me of something about the fact that, you know, with since we got the actual Nintendo Direct recently in during the forms of, you know, the 4th of September and stuff like that. I think it's the 4th of September. Yeah, I think it is. You know how the fact that we actually gone past for the forms of, the 6th of September? I think this is where the point, this is actually a year anniversary of that specific terrible news with all this, earthquake has been happening, and as a result though, I remember that one day whenever I managed to saw that one coming, that the actual Nintendo Direct in during 2018 September the 6th has been delayed for about a week just because of the actual earthquake form or another. So even then though, I don't mind about it too much though, despite the fact that I was a little bit hyped at that one form or another. But either way though, that's besides the point. And I think, speaking of Nintendo Directs at this point in time, especially noticeable that we did manage to sort things out for 2019 as it is. But eventually though, that especially noticeable, we're actually getting some of these first few games coming out on 2020, most notably with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which I'm looking forward to, as well as the forms of Animal Crossing New Horizons, which I will admit though, the visuals do look very, very gorgeous to look at, but I'm not going to actually pick it up though, because Animal Crossing is not my cup of tea or anything like that. So I do manage to apologize if I sound a little bit more, well, enthusiastic about it, because, well, I just never really played those kinds of games like this, you know? But I'm very glad they're able to actually get ourselves a proper Animal Crossing game on the Switch, instead of that crappy party game that has been released on the Wii U. Despite the fact that, well, you have to use a lot of those amiibos, which I certainly to say because of how the fact that the reason why Animal Festival for the Wii U is actually getting its drop price significantly, because it requires you to able to get a lot of usage on amiibo figures, which either way though, it might be seems a little bit of a waste of money if you manage to able to actually purchase that kinds of stuff, which either way though, that will be the most disappointing game of the series, because, you know, and also the worst games in the entirety of the Animal Crossing series, because, you know, why the hell do you able to actually just make the actual, like, well, some people seem to be super hyped about with the forms of the Wii U installment of the Animal Crossing game, but it turns out it was a party game instead of the actual main game and all that stuff to begin with, which, either way though, that's fun. Oh, God! That came out of nowhere when that happened right there. Oh, screw you. Anyways though, but then again, I do apologize with my dry throat at the moment for this point, but don't worry, when we get to tomorrow's video, specifically for this game in particular, then my voice will able to actually go, oh, still got hit by that same meteor rock again. Oh jeez, I have no idea what was going on for this point today, folks, but either way though, that's besides the point. Anyway, so let's go and rev-roll upwards, so that way we could able to actually dodge a lot of lasers, specifically when it comes to the point whenever you, like, notice that little corners parts. Well, you know, we have to carefully figure out for that particular point right there. So yeah, I just want to classify that. So another thing I want to point out right away is the fact that the fact of the matter is that I think we've only got about like 5 days to go until the Tokyo Game Show is about to be shown up. And seems more accurately though, I'm actually pretty excited about that, specifically for something else we're able to actually eventually will happen, specifically for, you know, Mario and Sonic at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, and especially some more information about the forms of Sonic at the Olympic Games in Tokyo 2020 on the iPhone devices and all that stuff, which I'm very curious to see what that was going to bring us into, especially noticeable with you know, the actual Nintendo Switch game, which is of course Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020. And also I'm very hoping that the actual DLC will able to happen for, you know, Kingdom Hearts 3 when it comes to the new trailer and the like. There's also the forms of, you know, some other games even though as well, which I don't know about, but either way though, we'll mention more now whenever we get to the forms of, you know, Tokyo Game Show for that particular point. So, anywho though, as you can see, we actually got ourselves a key, because we need a key to begin with to rescue the forms of another one of Pac-Man's friends. Mainly, as you can see right there, we managed to rescue Pac-Professor. So even then though, because, you know, he got a professional hat and everything. Many thanks, my friend. I must be going. So yeah, we managed to rescue 3 friends so far, and we've actually on the halfway point of rescuing friends to begin with. So even then though, the next 3 of the bunch, which there are Baby Pac-Man, as well as Pac-Man Jr., and finally Miss Pac-Man. So even then though, that could be a little bit more of a one thing in common. So even then though, I think the next one will, I think the next friend that we need to rescue is of course the Baby Pac-Man, because I say that because, well, the next world theme is going to be kind of peculiar, but even then we'll find things out whenever we get to that point. Well, not in this weekend though, but definitely enjoying it at some point until I would say in Tuesday, because either way though, here's what I was going to be thinking of when it comes to uploading schedules for the time, specifically for Pac-Man World, as well as Yoshi's Woolly Worlds at the same time, whenever we decide able to catch up on the forms of those Let's Plays for the time. I'm actually going to be going for Yoshi's Woolly World for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from now on, until the 20th of September, that there another new Let's Play is about to be up at some point. But as for Pac-Man World, I think I should probably upload these kinds of stuff until likely Tuesday and Thursday from now on, because, well, to be more specifically, Tuesdays and Thursdays from now on. Now, I'll take a break on Mario Galaxy 2 at some point at the very end of September, and then the majority of October before the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 9 will be practically finished by then. Oh, speaking of that particular show, actually, is the fact that recently they managed to able to bring up the next episode during today, which is, I think it calls it Dragon Drops, from the likes of Season 9. So even then, that's not much else. What the hell? Don't tell me you're just trying to able to rotate that platform or anything like that. Oh, jeez, that's more likely like a death trap or anything, so... I really do like the actual music of this level though, because it kind of reminds me like I was on the space station of all things, which either way though, it kind of makes me feel like, well, I actually really don't mind about the soundtrack in this game at all, because even then though, it does fit the actual atmosphere quite nicely at the same time. Oh, seriously, just getting hit twice on that specific same obstacle. Oh, jeez. I think we just managed able to slow down for a little bit, so I think I get the strong feeling that, yeah, we do need to activate that yellow switch until you're able to actually continue proceeding, so I guess I might as well do that. And grab some of these pack dots at the same time, and we'll go up there for the banana for, I would say, the final letter for, you know, the Pac-Man's bonus stages and all that such. And yeah, it seems more accurately though, specifically for... Oh, there's another extra life, and another one over there. Okay, that's very curious right there. But anyways though, let's go back up again, and hopefully though we'll... Oh, really? Yeah, I will admit though right away is that sometimes the platforming department, when you're trying to perform butt bounce sometimes, can get pretty much a fickle at points. But thankfully though, in Pac-Man World 2, it managed to fixes everything. So even then though, as for Pac-Man World 3, I don't know about that one yet, but we'll get to that at some point in 2021, after we're able to conclude it with Pac-Man World 2 first during next year. So either way though, we'll discuss that at a later time, but either way though, that's besides the point, and discussion for another day. But anyways though, I don't think there's anything else to be said, things considered, because even then though, that I'm afraid to say that we're pretty much almost running out with all these news and updates and everything like that, because, well, extremely to say, because of how the fact that we just got distracted by the forms of, specifically from other things, you know? And I think we've only got one last pack dot left, and we'll screw these, well, we're not gonna deal with all these ghosts from now on, so we'll just end off the level right here. So even then though, I think that takes care of 4 rounds, and I think we're almost there towards at the very end of Space World. So even then though, I believe we're on the halfway point of that world as well. So even then though, we're able to actually just leave it up to that. So now let's go ahead and take care of the bonus stage for about the second attempt or for another, because I accidentally screwed up multiple times, because if you somehow activate that switches, whenever you're trying to activate those platforms right there, they act like a time limit, because even though if you don't run fast enough, then, well, you might as well waste you for about a few seconds or few, so that you can able to actually just to utilize where you're trying to able to, you know, grab some of these collectibles and during time. So either way though, that's besides the point, so... Anyway, so I think we've already got about a few fruits left, so I think we're almost practically done for that point. Oh, can I even make it for this point? No! Oh, shoot. I didn't jump it well enough. I jumped a little bit too early. Oh, jeez. I think I get a strong feeling about the fact that with that particular reward on that box crate, I'm pretty sure it may actually contains the actual extra lives or something, which either way though, we'll leave it up to that as it is, so, oh well. And look at that, we actually got 2 extra lives, so even then though, relatively speaking, I think we should be okay when it comes to extra lives at this point, unlike the, well, in the second world, the second world, which appears to be, you know, the Ruins world, because, you know, with these booby traps in mind, that it just makes it a little bit frustrating to be able to explore through them, but either way though, that's not that noticeable, I don't think, so even then though, Yeah, seamless to say though, is the fact that I think we're pretty much almost out of time, so I'm presuming we're gonna have the endings off at this point right there, specifically for, whenever we're trying to finish up with Space World at some point in the next video, because yes, we're going back into 3 platforming levels, including the actual boss fight as well, so even then, just like in a pirate world, and eventually for the future worlds and onwards too. The only exception is of course the Ruins world, because the Ruins world might actually contain some longer levels throughout. I have introduced that Pac-Man has imprisoned others that you must rescue. Yeah, you probably get the idea. So I think we should probably end things off at this point here. So join me next time on Let's Play Pac-Man World. Is the fact that we're going to be hopefully finishing up with the Space World by going for the 3rd level, including the boss fight. So even then, I'll see you guys next time. Later, fellas.